Hello, it's a pleasure for us to be on this program again together today. I'm talking about sharing the moments with you on the economy today. Of course, it is still a program where we ensure to send across to you the news, the reviews, the previews, and the interviews. All of it on the program, The Economy Today. Please do stay with us and tune your antenna towards us so as to get out of us the very best which we will bring across to you today. Okechukwu Onubogu here. I am the frontline man. There are many other fellows with whom I'm working today, so I am not alone. But by the time we get to the end of the program, you get to know about the others with whom I have done the work. And as it goes on, we'll keep bringing things. We have a program, we have a topic for today, and the topic of discussion today has to do, of course, with the economy. And so it specifically what has to do with monetary matters, and it is growth in economic indices, how sustainable. Growth in economic indices, how sustainable. Because of the fact that we've had a kind of growth recently in the indices of the economy, and they are a beautiful one, good news, but then we want to know how sustainable this can be. And who can help me talk about this other than very eminent personality, the very eminent personality of Dr. Ken Ife. Dr. Ken Ife will be joining me via Zoom, and we'll talk today. Of course, Dr. Ken Ife is an economist. We do know that, and very special in all that. And we will talk about him by the time we want to bring him in onto the program. Please do be part of this, and let's begin with this. That's talking about our news bit, and I've got Blessing Kolawole with the voicing of it. So let's just watch and see what we have on the news beat.
CBN mops up 2 trillion naira from banks to curb inflation, unproductive lending. Nigeria's interbank monetary market remains awash with liquidity last week, but the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) sustained an aggressive liquidity mop-up stance to keep monetary conditions tight. The move is part of the Apex Bank tightening monetary policy aimed at taming inflation, which remains high, stabilizing the exchange rate by reducing speculative pressure on the naira and curbing unproductive lending and managing short-term liquidity fluctuation. However, despite sizable inflows from maturity securities, bank redirected an estimated 1.5 trillion naira to 2 trillion naira to the Standing Deposit Facility (SDF) window. This is equivalent to more than half of residual system liquidity not absorbed by CBN auctions. The strong preference for the SDF highlights both the system cash-rich posture and continued caution among deposit money banks in extending credit amid elevated interest rates and tightening monetary conditions. The SDF is a monetary policy tool used by the Apex Bank to absorb excess liquidity from the banking systems. It allows deposit money banks, DMBs, and discount houses to park their idle funds overnight with the CBN and earn interest on those placements. The market opened the week at 50.12 trillion, buoyed by 250 billion in OMO maturities and 230.66 billion in treasury bill maturities. However, owing to the Apex Bank intensifying liquidity management operations, liquidity gradually tampered to 3.39 trillion naira in 1 week, representing the fourth consecutive week of settling in the negative territory. Qatari delegation pledges $300 billion investment in Nigeria's economy. Qatari business delegation, led by a member of the country's ruling family, Sheikh Abdulrahman Hamad N.H. Al Thani, has announced plans to invest about $300 billion in various sectors of the Nigerian economy over the next decade. The delegation announced this at the weekend in Lagos at a reception organized for its members at Elvan Vat Nigeria Limited. The visit is regarded as one of the most significant potential foreign direct investment (FDI) pledges in Nigeria's recent history. The chairman of Elvan VAT Nigeria Limited, Princess Adebowale Odutola, described the development as a historic movement for Nigeria and a reflection of investor confidence in the reforms championed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Today, we are making history in Nigeria. We have investors who love Nigeria and have come to explore what we have in the country. They are investing about $300 billion in various sectors of the economy, including aviation, agriculture, renewable energy, infrastructure, oil and gas, mining. They are from Qatar. Before the last World Cup in their country, investors were flocking to Qatar to capitalize on its potential. After the World Cup, they decided to look elsewhere to reinvest their profits, and Nigeria is the latest bride. Let me quote them. If you do not invest in Nigeria between now and the next 10 years, you are locked out. After that, there will be nothing to invest in again in Nigeria, because by then, we will be reaping our returns on equity.
Thank you so much, Blessing Kolawole. We've done that, and that's part of it. We've worked together, and we're bringing in Blessing for the first time this time, and it was a beautiful one, I must say. We're going on, and we have a lot more to share with you. We have what we refer to as From the Business News, and so this is a story that we've had in our news. We need to bring it up here too, because this is the business program. Well, let's take that, and after that, we'll now look at the stock exchange, and then straight go into the discussion with Professor Ken Ife.
The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC) says Nigeria's crude oil and condensate production fell to an average of 1.581 million barrels per day in September 2025. The Commission disclosed this in a statement citing official statistics released by its head of media and strategic communication, Eniola Akinkotu. NUPRC attributed the drop to a 3-day industrial action by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASAN, which led to the shutdown of several production and export facilities. It added that scheduled turnaround maintenance at the two strategic facilities also contributed to the decline in output. It further says that during the review, month peak combined production, crude and condensate, reached 1.81 million barrels per day, while the lowest was 1.35 million barrels per day. The NUPRC also revealed that an analysis of production by the top 8 streams in September showed Focado's blend accounted for 15.86% of total output, followed by Bonny Light at 13.31% and Kwa Ibo at 9.88%. It further revealed that Escravos Light contributed 8.96%, Bonga Crude delivered 6.83%, Agbami Condensate made up 4.94%, Era Crude accounted for 4.55%, while Emmanuel Blend contributed 4.2% of total production. Nigeria's total public debt climbed to 152.40 trillion naira as of June 30, 2025, up from 149.39 trillion naira at the end of March, according to latest figures released by the Debt Management Office (DMO). The rise represents a 3.01 trillion naira increase within 3 months, or 2.01% in dollar terms, while the debt stock expanded from 97.24 billion US dollars to 99.66 billion US dollars, an uptick of 2.49%, as both external and domestic obligations inched upward amid a weaker naira and persistent fiscal pressures. The DMO report also revealed that Nigeria's external debt stood at 46.98 billion US dollars, an equivalent of 71.85 trillion naira in June, compared to 48.98 billion US dollars, 17.63 trillion naira in March, while multilateral institutions remained the largest creditors with combined exposure of 23.19 billion US dollars, representing 49.4% of total external liabilities. Similarly, the World Bank, through its International Development Association (IDA) arm, accounted for the biggest share at 18.04 billion US dollars. Bilateral loans totaled 6.20 billion US dollars, led by the Export-Import Bank of China with 4.91 billion US dollars, followed by smaller exposures to France, Japan, India, and Germany. The continued trend means advances, essentially loans from the central bank to the federal government, reflects deep fiscal strain, while the federal government's share of the total debt stood at 141.08 trillion naira, representing 92.6% of the national stock. This comprised 46.49 trillion naira in external debt and 76.59 trillion naira in domestic borrowings.
Supporting states in diversifying the economy and fostering private sector participation.
An application to any state slows down the pace of development in other parts of the nation. And this is a burden of federalism that we must never allow to slow us down. We must either grow together or palter apart. What the state has advertised is its commitment to reforms that reduce bureaucratic friction, including streamlined incentives. We urge prospective partners to engage with both the state and the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government to access support, scrutinize project pipelines, request data rooms, and explore blended finance structures that can make projects bankable and investment ready.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo noted that insecurity continues to discourage investors from committing resources to the country, calling for urgent measures to address the challenge.
Peace, security, stability, predictability. Nobody will come and invest when he cannot be sure that if he brings in 100, he will be able to get 120, and 10 out of that 120 he can repatriate and leave 110 to continue. Investors are hard-headed calculators, and don't underrate them.
Governor Bala Mohammed, in his address, reiterated the state's readiness to collaborate with both local and international investors to boost productivity and create employment opportunities. He disclosed that the summit is expected to generate over 500,000 new jobs, attract substantial investments, and strengthen partnerships between the public and the private sectors.
What we are doing is to change the style of relationship or partnership that Baba has described, to remove corruption and personal interest. We are not taking any percentage for ourselves. We are allowing the investors to make sure he maximizes his profits, and he should see that at least Bauchi is home where there is sincerity, where there is fidelity in terms of ease of doing business. In terms of leadership recruitment, we brought young people. You have listened to the Commissioner for Commerce. This young man can go to places. He can represent me anywhere. I sent him to Algeria and he spoke like a governor. And that's where to go. We have to have that admixture of the young and the old.
Other notable speakers, including the Sultan of Sokoto and a former secretary to the government of the Federation, shared insights on policy reforms, economic sustainability, and the role of innovation in governance.
What have we really done with such investment summit? Because we come tomorrow again, another state investment summit. We gather together here. We leave an excellent forum, very beautiful speeches, very big grammar. But at the end of it, what else? What are we achieving?
Partnership and collaboration. Development in our age is not the task of government alone. It thrives through collaboration between the public and the private sectors, between citizens and state, between local capacity and global capital. Through public-private partnership, Bauchi can attract investment in infrastructure, energy, and agriculture. Through the Nigerian state and nation, Bauchi can take advantage of it being a very viable federating unit and cooperate with the federal government.
The summit is expected to foster strategic partnerships, secure tangible capital inflows, and enhance Bauchi's integration in both the national and global economy. Supporting states in diversifying the economy and fostering private sector participation.
An affliction to any state slows down the pace of development in other parts of the nation. And this is a burden of federalism that we must never allow to slow us down. We must either grow together or palter apart. What the state has advertised is its commitment to reforms that reduce bureaucratic friction, including streamlined incentives. We urge prospective partners to engage with both the state and the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government to access support, scrutinize project pipelines, request data rooms, and explore blended finance structures that can make projects bankable and investment ready.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo noted that insecurity continues to discourage investors from committing resources to the country, calling for urgent measures to address the challenge.
Peace, security, stability, predictability. Nobody will come and invest when he cannot be sure that if he brings in 100, he will be able to get 120. And 10 out of that 120, he can repatriate and leave 110 to continue. Investors are hard-headed calculators, and don't underrate them.
Governor Bala Mohammed, in his address, reiterated the state's readiness to collaborate with both local and international investors to boost productivity and create employment opportunities. He disclosed that the summit is expected to generate over 500,000 new jobs, attract substantial investments.
Oh, well, that had been from the business news, and of course it's investment all the way that we're talking about this day. We're still on it and we still continue. Right away we want to talk about the money business, the money market. Before we get on with our guest, Professor Ken, let me introduce Festus Jonathan to do the stock exchange story briefly before we link on with our guest.
Hello and welcome to Kaplan TV. And as always, it's great to have you join me as we take a quick but yet insightful look at how the Nigerian markets end last week. The market wrapped up last week Friday on a slightly cautious but active note. At the close of trading on the Nigerian exchange, a total of 385.5 million shares were 1,813 deals with a total value of 10.45 billion naira. That represented an 11% rise in trading volume, even though turnover dipped by 62%, and the number of deals declined by about 12% compared to Thursday's session. Meanwhile, the market capitalization currently stands at around 93.3 trillion naira, reflecting steady investor confidence in Nigerian equity market despite conscious sentiments. Briefly, let's take a look at the top gainers for last week. Let's have the top gainers on the screen. Starting with the bright side, Dangote Cement led the gainers chart, appreciating by 6.48% to close at 575 naira per shares as renewed demand in industrial goods sector boosted buying activities. Next on the list is NEM Insurance, climbing 5.23% to settle at 29.15 naira, reflecting investor confidence in the resilience of the insurance sector. Jaiz Bank followed with a 4.65% gain, closing at 4 naira 50 kobo, driven by strong sentiment in the financial service sector. Also making the list, FTN Cocoa Processor rose by 3.57% to 5 naira 80 kobo, showing continued momentum in the agro-allied market. And rounding up the top gainers, CWJ PLC advanced 3.46% to 17 naira 95 kobo, alongside Deep Capital, which closed up 3.45% at 1 naira 80 kobo. Overall, the gainer shows that investors are rotating into key sectors, particularly cement, insurance, and tech. So let's take a look at the top losers. Let's have the top losers on the screen. But it wasn't all green across the board. A few stocks experienced downward pressure to the end of the week. UNCN Property Development topped the losers chart, dropping 9.98% to close at 51 naira 85 kobo, largely due to profit taken by short-term investor. MIA's PSC followed with a 9.85% decline to 15 naira 10 kobo, while Sterling Financial Holding shed 9.58%, closing at 7.55 naira 55 kobo. Cornerstone Insurance also slipped 6.90% to 6 naira 21 kobo, while Etras International and Nimet Pharmatica lost 6.25% and 6.25% and 6.09 respectively. Analysts attribute this decline to mid-correction after previous rallies, especially with banking, fintech, and manufacturing. Looking ahead, midweek activities are expected to remain cautious, with investors eyeing upcoming third quarter's earnings and global economic cues. Analysts predict that cement, banking, and insurance stock may continue to see moderate buying, while consumer goods could experience light profit taking. I'm First Jonathan, reminding you that in every number there is a story, and here at Kaftan TV will always tell you those stories. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Festus. It's been good sharing the moments with you. We'll just take a slight break and we'll return. We'll continue with our guest, that is Professor Kenny Ferry, that you've just seen. Oh yes, thank you so much for being there for us, and we're still doing what we've come here to do today. I will be joining, of course, he's already joined us. We're talking about Professor Kenny Fair on the program. Of course, Professor Kenny Fair is a development economist, and he's a London Enterprise Fellow, and a lot more. He is into so many things that have to do with being In many stations you've seen him, he is always making reference to the economy. He is discussing and economic matters. So thank God and thank that we have him today on our program. Professor Feni Kenife, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much for finding out time to be with us on the program today. Yeah. Thank you for being there. Can you hear me, sir?
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay. Welcome.
I can hear you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Looking at the topic we have for today, we want to find out what you think about it as a whole, looking at it as it were, as it is rather, that we're seeing the growth of in economic indices in the country right now. But we want to find out, is it going to be sustainable? Is it sustainable?
The growth indices that the GDP growth rate released last week shows us to be doing 4.23% growth compared to the last quarter, the previous quarter, which was 3.13, and compared to year on year, the 2004 corresponding period in 2004, which is 3.48%. So in terms of growth, the answer is that yes, we are growing, the economy is growing. There are also other favorable macroeconomic indices that gives a lot of confidence. One is the inflation that is trending down from the rebase figure of 24.5, heading down to 20.1, and hopefully before Christmas, we will definitely be under 20%. Then we also have the balance of payment that is positive, which is about 6.2% of our GDP. That's very encouraging. Then we have capital inflows coming in that give about $5.64 billion, although the preponderance is on portfolio investment, not much activity on foreign direct investment. But we also know that if we split if you disaggregate those GDP figures, you are going to find that the key driver is the non-oil sector, and in particular, the service sector. Although the growth, there is also reasonable growth in oil alone. Oil alone will get about 20.46%. But you know that oil used to be negative. But it is only contributing just over 4% of our economy. It's come down from 6 to 5 now to 4.1%. While the non-oil grows to about 95.9%. But the main driver in that non-oil space is the service industry. Service industry alone is giving over 55% of the contribution, but the growth is 3.94% compared to the others. I mean, agriculture has actually gone from 0.07 in the first quarter to 2.82% last quarter. So that is some growth, but it still hasn't exceeded population growth rate of 3% and urbanization growth rate of 4.6%. So we still have major challenges on agriculture. And that threatens our ability to feed ourselves. That is not an easy task for the government to deal with. Now, you asked me the question, if we have all this growth, why is it not trickling down for more employment? Why is it not leading to poverty reduction? Why is it not getting more people out of multidimensional poverty?
Exactly.
Yes. Some of the answers relate to where the growth is and the quality of the growth. The growth are predominantly in the private sector, in the service sector. And those service sectors are actually doing well. And they don't need as much support as the real sector. For example, if you look at solid mineral, look at agriculture, you look at oil and gas, those are part of the real sector where you get the revenue that you need and jobs are created. about 60% of our population are, in one way or the other, involved in agriculture, but still not able to feed ourselves. Only about 4% of Americans are involved in agriculture, but are prepared to feed the whole world. So our challenge in that side is lack of mechanization, adequate mechanization infrastructure, and then we need good seed varieties. We need all kinds of things, but of course we have to tackle insecurity as they affect the very people that grow the crops. In 2014, Africa Union in Malabo Declaration said that not less than 10% of the budget should go to agriculture. And then even as they are saying that, they said they recognize that 80% of the basic food that we eat are actually grown by women. And 80% of the processing of primary food that we eat are done by women. And then 80% of the marketing, rural market of all the primary goods and food are also done by women. And yet those women are scared stiff with insecurity. They can't go to harvest their crop, they can't go to plant, they can't. So you can see just what insecurity does to the major segment that is driving our agrarian economy. So there are many more of this. Unemployment is a critical one, because we have to look at the sectors and subsectors where jobs can easily be created. But we do know, me and you know, that the colonial legacy that we have is build schools, build schools. So we have hundreds and thousands of schools being built all over the country, but not build skills, build skills. I mean, I cannot not building schools because I'm a PhD holder, I hold so many degrees, I'm a professor, but I worry about the fact that we are not building skills. And the mismatch that you have in terms of employment is because our education system produces products with skills that do not match what the employers need. So that is why when we come to employment policy, I'll begin to ask the government, if you have 32 million MSMEs in Nigeria, why don't you get them to take charge of all this internship and apprenticeship and all that stuff, and let one company give us one job, so that over the next 5 years, this 32 million can give us 32 million jobs, and find out what they need. If they need 50,000 naira for somebody for 6 months to understudy them, work with them, train them, let them do it. It's a better job than, and then if they finish and qualify, let them get a bit of money to buy the tools. So in that way, we are playing into the safety of the skill sector, rather than give contracts to every Dick and Harry to go and train people to sweep gutter or do this or do that, and then eventually they can't even approach the labor market. So those are some of the challenges. There are many more things to talk about in that respect.
Okay. There is something I want to, maybe I would have brought it later, but let me bring it now, lest I forget. Looking at the fact that we do not have effectively secured places in the nation today for farming, and it's affecting us, that is insecurity. Let's say that maybe in the next 1 year, something happens and there is perfect security all over the country. Can we say that there is enough mechanization now that will help so that these development that we're talking about farming and all that mechanized farming, as you just said, that just 4% of Americans are the ones doing all the farming and they are ready to feed the world. Can we have such a thing in Nigeria?
Possible, because if you look at our mechanization intensity, they are talking about less than 5%. That is the number of tractor, the tractor density per population, per 1,000 population. It's so low.
So low.
And but yeah, they're so low because but you need to have more. Okay, government should, for example, remove any tax on tractors and all, because tractor and those are clears the land, and then you clear the land once, then you now use tractor to work it every year and work it every year. And one tractor can do the work of more than 1,000 workers.
Yes.
So why don't we allow this to come in? And then if we are importing 2,000, government has imported almost 2,000. I think I went with the Minister of Agriculture to Guaguarada in April to go and see the ones that are there. And minister assured me that by May, all of these would have been given out. They were in October. They have not. And it's not because they are not there. I don't know what policy that is holding them there from being distributed. And now with farming season is over, practically. And then you have to look around other states to see what they have invested in tractor, and we haven't seen them yet. Some are there, they still haven't distributed them. So it doesn't tell us that we are so serious about this food insecurity, even though we have declared state of emergency. That is necessary. The second point is that I know that the federal ministry is buying seeds, high quality hybrid seeds, and distributing them, and other inputs like chemicals, and that they're also intervening in food to make sure we can bring down food inflation. Yeah, those are important. Those are important, but you have to make sure that these things actually hit the ground. The real farmer on the ground still complain that when the politicians get hold of those things, they hardly get them, because some of them will get them and then go and sell them and resell them, and by the time it arrives at there, the farming season is over. So we have asymmetries and misalignments in the whole input supply chain.
Okay. Prof, there is this, Brazil, let's use Brazil now for an example. Brazil does a lot of livestock, and the beef that the world eats, Brazil is supplying more than half of it to the entire world. I know that a bit of it happens in Britain, but we keep seeing our cattle everywhere, all over the place. And we now have the Ministry of Livestock and all that. Do you see this ministry as something that can be used as a spearhead to enable the industrialization that is required in this sector?
Of course, this was what I thought. I thought that the Ministry of Livestock is a very good present that the Tinubu administration has given to the North, because the North, believe it or not, account for much of the food that we eat in the country, and in particular livestock as well. We have 20 million, 19.5 million heads of livestock. Mm-hmm. But that is nothing compared to where twice the population of Ethiopia. And I know that UNDP had a program there where they say one family, one cow. And then they support them. Yeah, is it possible? Yeah. And then they ended up having over 50 million cattle in Ethiopia. We are twice their population, but we have 19.5 million heads of cattle. And many of our cattle actually are from Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. So, anyway. So, but the fact of the matter is that I was very happy that this was created. I remember that I think in the early 2000, one of the ministers of agriculture that went to Brazil, I haven't been, was telling me how they went to a big beef plantation where they have thousands of hectares of cattle.
Yeah. Well, we hope that we'll be able to get Prof back, because we still need to talk about this effectively. There are many areas where we find cattle all over Nigeria, but when they are effectively utilized and put in the right way, since we already have a ministry to that effect, it will help to boost this same economy. That, as we are talking about the growing indices in the economy, the livestock ministry would have succeeded in achieving some victory for this nation, talking about the fact that the livestock will put in something in the economy. That is not just that we're talking about oil doing its own agriculture. Livestock has been separated from agriculture, and so we can work with that. Yes, let's continue with Professor Kenife.
Yeah, sorry about that interruption. So the minister was telling me that they had to use helicopters the farm because it's so huge. Thousands of for the first 9 months or so, the herds are free, they eat freely and all it migrate. But then after that, they'll enter into something that looks like a conveyor belt, and they begins to move them. When they get down to the slaughter area, they have already grown very big. So you have that mixture of, free grazing, and then they now enter into the production line, and then intensively fed. So you have to have a mixture. You have to produce enough fodder, as well as so it is an integrated farming. You can understand why they are doing nearly half of export of beef to the whole world. It's a very, very organized farming practice and integrated as well.
Yes. Looking at all this, Prof, we keep seeing, well, there is hope, there is hope. What would you say? What would you use as a kind of, I don't know the word to use right now, but then let's say an overview of all of these. Is there a way out for Nigeria completely at the end of all of this? Believing that, and you need to advise also those in government, because you know about that, so that we can have things, even as you have suggested, even as you've talked about them, if we can have them happening, then the end will be beautiful. But if they don't do these basic things, then we may not continue. Growth in economic indices, we want to make sure that it will be sustainable. Your advice, sir?
Sustainable. There are two things there. Are you going to continue to grow? And under what conditions will you continue to grow? The answer is that we will continue to grow. Because by January now, the new fiscal law will kick in, the Fiscal Act, the Fiscal Reform Act. And then you're going to see more money being held by household. And then those households will do more purchases. So aggregate demand will increase. You're going to see the SMEs get more access to their resources. Instead of 25 million naira threshold, it's go to 50 million threshold. So they are retaining a lot of their money and creating jobs, and so, and then output may increase, so GDP may increase. Government borrowing is continuing unabated, so government expenditure, part of the budget, part of the growth will continue. Now deficit, we have deficit changed over to surplus on our balance of payment. So all those four indices are what deciding growth. So if you are asking about sustainability, this is one element of sustainability, that our economy is going to continue to record profit and growth. But if you are now talking to another part of sustainability that says, does that have any impact or repercussion on increased employment or reduced poverty or and better livelihood? My answer would be no, because all the things that you require to touch that side are actually not happening. What we have is that the service side of our economy is doing very well. And they are not only dominant on the GDP contribution to GDP, but they're also driving the growth. So you are going to continue to have paper growth, but you're not going to have them translate to jobs. And if you don't have employment and don't have sustainable income from employment, which is what would free the resources for them to send people to education, send them to health, get their health, and then remove them from poverty, then you're going to be saying, you'll be on two-way lane. One lane is doing well and, showing figures, macroeconomic good, but then you have the other lane where poverty is reigning and nothing unabated. So these are the two sides of the sustainability.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Well, that is, I want to say that it's been great sharing about this. Talking about sustainability is very important, because without these things put together, we may return to what we'll say is the situation we were in before we came on. Thank you so much, Prof. And I will say that I have been having a great session sharing with you, Prof. And it's been great thanking you, honestly, for finding time to be here. I want to thank you again, Prof. Thank you. A renowned economist and trade expert in Nigeria, currently serving as the president of the Institute of Professional Economists and Policy Management. I won't forget that. And the lead consultant and the private sector development to the ECOWAS Commission. Thank you for being here today with us on the program.
Thank you.
It's a big pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You.
Before I say bye-bye to you, Prof, I want to say, you know, we always depend on the fact that we can always reach you. Please do make yourself available because we'll be asking you to come over soon. This time coming over into the studio when you're around so that we'll still share more, sir. Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Sir. All right.
Definitely.
Right.
Just with a bit of notice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. All right. That's how we'll round off what we've got with Prof today on the program, and it's been wonderful sharing many things. I must tell you that Professor Kedi that you've just seen, he has worked tirelessly to promote economic development in Nigeria, particularly in the areas of trade facilitation, agricultural development, and private sector growth. He's still doing that. He's still doing that on a great note, working so hard. And when we talk about him, he has emphasized the importance of food security in Nigeria. That's why I had to look for him, because when you talk about economic growth or growth indices in our country, it has to do with all that, and so that's why I had to look for him. He suggested measures such as production contracts and neighboring countries, with neighboring countries, strategic reserves, and land clearing to boost agricultural productivity. We thank him so much. Professor Kenny, of course, is an author and a speaker. He has authored many books, and in various conferences we've seen him say beautiful things that have to do with what will help even the basic economic development of the nation and the individual. Thank you so much, Prof. Well, dear viewer, we'll also be packing up what we have with you today. I must say special thanks to all the fellows with whom I've worked, starting with the fact that I did mention that there was a Blessing Kolawole, of course, and we also have others with whom we've worked. I want to say that Ihan Ugoji, he has been there. And I wouldn't forget, of course, that Yukeria Onyeneke has been the operations director with whom I have worked. Also, let me say that Bright Chukwebue has been around too, helping us with the link. And let me not forget to thank Victor Adeyeye, as well as Victor Chizea and Felix Akinjagola. For those that went for the conference, for the summit, we say welcome to all of you back home. We're working together to ensure that the best comes our way from this side. Let me say too that Esther Abraham has been with me doing the work too. Let me thank also the young man that presented the other segment that is talking about Festus. Festus, thank you so much, Festus Jonathan. On behalf of everyone that has worked, remembering Paul Omale, I want to say that this is Okechukwu Onubogu. I want to thank you and thank my boss, Ruben Okala. I will say, of course, that as I want to leave, I will say, may the best happen to all of us all the time. Thank you.